Hi, I'm James Schillinglaw. I'm here aboard the AmaWaterways, and I think we're in, where are we, Vidin?
Yes, we're in Vidin, Bulgaria.
Vidin, Bulgaria, so I need to help right away. We're almost at the end of this marvelous cruise of the southern Danube, the Danube south of Budapest, and we're going to end we're actually in Bulgaria now, and we're going to end just in another day. So we're going to talk to, this, by the way, is Bojan
Rangelovic.
I have trouble with these Serbian names, but you do it very nicely. It's good that you know your own name, right?
I'm almost an expert in Serbian.
Okay, so, and he is, in case you didn't know, the cruise manager here on this wonderful ship, and it's been a great cruise so far, and we got a couple more days to go, as I said. We're going to talk about this day by day, this cruise, about what it is, because I think a lot of you out there might not have experienced a river cruise before, and we're going to ask Bojan exactly how it all works. You're going to find out about that and more on Insider Travel Report. First of all, Bojan, it's been great. You've hosted me here for the last few days, and I've actually was on the ship before for a few days, and so it's been a wonderful, wonderful time to sail almost the entire Danube. So thank you for that.
Thank you for being here with us, and it's a pleasure to have you on board.
Yeah, so now let's talk about this. Most people have, the first starter cruise usually is the upper Danube. It's going up from Budapest to Vienna and up to Germany, or the reverse. This is why I wanted to be on this one, because I'd never been on this part of the stretch of the river before. What is the main difference, would you say, between the two parts of the river?
Also, I would include with the upper Danube that you mentioned, also the Rhine. These are like first choices.
Well, that is right. That's the other first choice, right? Yeah.
These are the rivers that always we can recommend to any guest, but like the lower Danube is a bit off the beaten path. So if you covered Paris, Madrid, Barcelona, this kind of huge mega metropolis with tourists, then this is the area usually that was not visited by some people. So this is a perfect way of being on a safe leisure vessel going from Budapest, from Hungary, all the way to Romania. In this area, you will not find huge crowds of tourists. You will find a very domestic, intimate feeling, very authentic experience. And what I would say is the biggest difference comparing upper Danube to the lower Danube is the people you visit on the street and you see them, they appreciate any guest, any tourist that comes here, because we are aware, being from this part of Europe, we are aware that you can choose any part of Europe, and then you chose to come here to us. So all the people are very hospitable, they're always smiling, and it's a genuine smile. It's not like the most expensive thing in Paris is a smile. Here, we just give it out for free, and we do mean it. We really cherish that tourists from across the seas came to this part of Europe and have a great time.
Yeah, and indeed, you go to some marvelous cities, Belgrade in Serbia. We're going to Bucharest tomorrow, some wonderful little small towns, and it is sort of a largely untouristed part of Europe. It's a great way to discover. And plus, and we're going to talk about this, there's one marvelous stretch of the river that I think rates on par with the famous Wachau Valley and also the Rhine castles in terms of views, and we were there yesterday. We're going to talk about that. Now, is there any truth to the rumor that you personally and a lot of the crew like this part of the river because a lot of you are from these countries, right?
That's one of the reasons, because we get to see our families on the way, and also it makes the cruise itself very authentic, because we have 50 crew members. Most of them are from this region. So I'm one cruise manager on the ship. But when you cruise on the lower Danube, having a lot of crew members from this area, it's like having 30 cruise managers on the ship, because each one of us can tell you a lot about this stretch, because it's actually our home countries. So on board the ship, we can tell you a lot of tips and tricks how to enjoy this stretch of the river, because we are from here. So it's a very intimate and a very real feeling, because we are from here.
And actually, I got to meet your family, your wife, and your lovely daughter. Had a little conversation with her, and I also got to taste some Serbian candy, which was you gave me one of those. So I got to experience some real local stuff, right?
That's the famous bananica, which we use the same exact treat for the last 30, 40 years from the Yugoslavian times. We were all born with it. Our grandparents, parents, me, my kids, we all love it, and I think you love it too.
I do it too. Now you got to import me a case of that stuff. So we'll work on that. But that was exactly the kind of thing you get, because the crew here is from here. They love their countries, and they want to show them off. They want to see this is a great place to go for tourism, right?
Yes, we think we have a lot of things to show, and I think in the future there will be many more cruise lines and many more cruises every year with AmaWaterways going down this stretch. For example, last year we had 33 cruises going downstream basically to the lower Danube. We call it the Gems of Southeast Europe. Right. This year 48 cruises.
Oh, so it's even more. That's great. So we'll get more opportunities. Now let's sort of go day by day from when we started, because I want to sort of highlight the experiences that you think guests should really have. You have a wide array of activities, a wide array of excursions at all different levels. You have active, you have regular, and you have a little softer, in case of people don't want to really exert themselves that much. But they're all wonderful excursions to different places. But let's highlight some of the things in each one of these ports that we stop that you really want to focus on. Let's start, obviously, when you get on board in Budapest. And granted, unless you've been coming from farther up the river, you don't spend a lot of time in Budapest, but you give them a chance to get out and see Budapest, right?
That's correct. On embarkation day, we have a shuttle bus which can take you back and forth from the city center. And that day, it's like a day on your own, just to get used to the city and the local time if you just arrived overseas. So not too much time, but then just enough to get a glimpse of the capital of spas of Europe, as we like to call Hungary's capital, Budapest.
And it is a gorgeous city. It's one of my favorite cities on the river, on the Danube. And one of the things you have it going to Hero Square. I think the shuttle goes up there, and there's some marvelous museums. And my favorite new one is the Music History Museum, which is absolutely stunning. It just opened a year ago. Right, the first Asta Global River Cruise Expo, we got a chance to do that. But that's one of the ideas you can go. And then, of course, everybody wants to go up to the castle and they want to see the Parliament and all that. So you can do that really quickly, or if you came in a day earlier and you stayed in a hotel before you boarded the ship, you can do that. But then we leave Budapest. And so the next one is really Mohacs, which I had been to briefly but didn't get a chance to do. Now, what are the experiences in Mohacs and I may be pronouncing it incorrectly, but
you're very close. Mohacs.
Okay, Mohacs. All right, Mohacs. I gotta remember that.
So we cruise on the first morning, so everybody gets accustomed to the ship, and already they feel like this is their home. And we wake up in the morning. We cruise down the Danube. We wake up. We arrive to Mohacs in the afternoon, and from there we depart for the tours. Mohacs itself is a very small town. Walking for like half hour, you've seen it all. So that's why we offer a lot of tours going out from Mohacs. Usually the first choice for many guests is a tour to Pécs.
And that's what I did. Yeah.
Yes. Did you like it?
I did. It's a very fascinating tour. It's a beautiful little town, city, and it's really quite an impressive square, and they really spruced it up a lot. And you can see in one quick walk a large Orthodox church, a former mosque, and a synagogue. So they're all literally within steps, and there's a marvelous midtown square where you can go have a gelato or something like that.
I think you're ready to become a cruise manager.
Can I do this one? I don't know. I'll spell you on the next one. Okay, let's see what
2011, it was the capital of culture of Europe,
okay.
Pécs. So they renovated a lot of parts of the city. So now it's very beautiful, very colorful. And guests usually, they come back smiling because the temperature and the local climate in Pécs, it's a bit different to any part where we cruise, because it has almost a Mediterranean climate.
Right.
So that's why it's always a bit warmer in Pécs than it is in Mohacs. And also it's connected also with the other tour. So if you do not choose to go to Pécs, you can do wine tasting in a village called Zegzard. That wine region is special because of the microclimate there, which is Mediterranean. So they're famous for the red wines. And that was the second choice.
Yeah, in fact, I think I did that too, come to think of it. I'm trying to think of where was I? I did a great wine tasting there, and it was amazing to see that as well. But then you get back on the ship, and you're going on to, I believe, Vukovar, right? Which is the sort of one of the Croatian towns. And talk a little bit about that stop, because you go to several. You go to Novi Sad, Vukovar, and I believe Ilok, right?
Yes, in the morning we wake up in a new country, Croatia, and we use Vukovar as a departing point for the tours. So you can choose that morning, you want a tour or you want to cruise and have the Ama Verde as your private yacht. if you want a tour, then you can choose between the Vukovar city tour or the wine tasting.
That's the one I did. Okay, I remember that, and it was a marvelous experience because you go to 2 wineries, and one winery was set above this amazing plain and all these vineyards, and really had a wonderful place to have that. But we weren't done yet. We went down into town to one of the oldest wineries around, I believe, and had even more wine. So we were pretty. We were moving at the end when we got back to the ship. It was a morning wine tasting, by the way, so that was interesting. So you're going to have to forget about, oh, no, before noon I can't have wine. Now have a little wine, all right?
I think somewhere around the world it must be afternoon. So that's how we say it's fine to drink at 9 a.m. in the morning. And in that region, they have more than 2,000 years of experience in making wine. So I think that shows how good they are. And also when you see the guests coming back to the ship, there are usually more bottles of wine than there are guests coming back. So that means they had a good time on the wine tasting.
They're leaving a little for the local economy and they're taking it home because you can't get this wine at home, as they say. It's not going to be there. Now, the other big thing, you go to a fortress there too, right?
Actually, for the Vukovar, it's a city tour.
Okay.
So we just walk through the town and we see the Eltz Manor, which is like a very nice museum, or the wine tasting, which you did.
Oh, but then we move on.
Novi Sad. Yes.
Novi Sad is where. Okay, see, I'm getting this right. I have been in Novi Sad, and you get a chance to see either during the day or at night this wonderful fortress. Right?
The town of Novi Sad is spectacular because it's very small. It has around 250,000 people, 250,000, and you dock at the town center. So you just walk off the ship, and as you said, we can choose between the town center and walking tour, or you can walk across the bridge and hike up to the fortress during the day. So these are the 2 choices during the daytime, during the afternoon. Or in the evening, they exclusively open the fortress for us and the underground galleries. So in the evening, you choose between local entertainment on the ship, like a lazy evening, or you get to see a unique place, I think, in Europe, where at 9 p.m. after dinner, you get to go up to the fortress and go to the underground galleries.
Well, and the other thing about Novi Sad is where? What country it's?
It's in Serbia.
It's in Serbia. So you've moved right during that day from Croatia to Serbia, which I think is very interesting. And there is a bit of a small rivalry between Novi Sad and Belgrade, I think, just because some people say, and I think somebody said they lived in Novi Sad. One of your crew said they like it it's a little quieter, but then Belgrade, and that's the next day we go to Belgrade. And Belgrade is a marvelous, marvelous European city. And I've been there before, but you had a marvelous tour, and we did a tour of all the great things in Belgrade. Talk a little bit about that one.
It's called the City by the Two Rivers tour in the morning. That's because we that morning wake up docked on the Sava River, because the confluence of the Danube and the Sava River is in Belgrade. Because Sava has more of a slower flow, a steadier flow, we dock there, again close to the town center, and we do the city tour. We visit the whole city, basically, whatever can be seen during those couple of hours. So we go to the St. Sava Cathedral, which is the largest Orthodox cathedral in this part of Europe. We get to go inside. It's finally finished and ready for all of you and your clients to see it. And then we go to the Kalemegdan Fortress, which is right next to the ship, so it's very close to walk through it. And also from this year we are visiting the famous Nikola Tesla Museum.
Yeah, I think so that was a first for me. Not been there. I've been the last time I went to Tito's mansion, which actually I also recommend if you get some time, because it is amazing. There's a lot of history there, a lot of interesting things about Tito. But then you go to, everyone knows Tesla for a different reason nowadays because of the cars, but you hear about this marvelous inventor and really incredible man who did so much to create. He didn't invent the Tesla, but it's named after him. So we do get to go to that museum, right?
Yes, the remains of Tesla are there, and also we do some special experiments. So guests get a hands-on demonstration of his findings, like magnetism and electricity, and basically it's his fault that we have such a leisured life nowadays.
Absolutely, and you get to hold lights and all this. It's kind of fun. And then, of course, you then proceed up to the fortress, and that's where you can see the incredible views of the two rivers coming together, the Danube and the
Sava River.
The Sava River, and it really is a beautiful view. And then you can go back to the ship to have a little lunch, and then they give you free time in the afternoon if you want to go back up and have a little fun in Belgrade.
Yes, we do shuttle buses back and front from the ship into the town center, or if you want to taste some local rocket fuel, as I like to call it, that's the Serbian brandy or rakia,
which you gave to us last night. You gave us a special brand, and we were at dinner and you brought one with us, and that was quite fun.
I saw the smiles, and I guess you liked it.
You kept feeling my glass. I don't know what was going on there.
That's magic. That's what happens on board the AmaVerde.
There you go. So it was a wonderful time, and we had a lovely dinner that night. And now, so we move on. And then we go to a place that I thought was amazing. It's Golubak, right?
Golubak Fortress.
Golubak Fortress, and boy, if you want a castle, this is a castle, right?
It was renovated. A lot of money came from the European Union. So 2019, they reopened the fortress. Golubac, it means the dove fortress in Serbian, and it's basically like a gatekeeper to the entrance to the Iron Gates, which is a special region that we are going to talk about. So since 2-3 years ago, we are visiting the castle, and it's very convenient because we dock next to the fortress. So you just walk off the ship and you're there inside of the fortress.
It's really amazing, and you can climb up the towers. You get a great tour. You learn all about the many different it was held by by the Ottoman Empire for a while. It was held by various Serbian kings, and everybody goes back and forth to that fortress, and it is just so. There's that fortress on that side, and then there's actually a fortress on the other side that you don't see, but it is the gateway to, we said, the Iron Gates. And tell us, what is the Iron Gates?
When you say the Iron Gates, it can mean several things. For me, Iron Gates, or as the Serbs call it, Đerdap, is the largest breakthrough gorge in Europe. So that's meaning number one. Also, Iron Gates, the largest locks on the Danube are in that region, and they're called Iron Gates. But also, when we say Iron Gates, why they got the name Iron Gates, it's because the water goes so quickly through that area that it looks like it's boiling. So that's why we call it the Iron Cauldron or the Iron Gates, because in the old times, on the Rhine, when the old sailors would crash their ships, they would blame that misfortune on the Lorelei, which
we know the Lorelei. I've been there to see that. So this is another region like that. And what you're cruising right through this incredible gorges. You have sort of these cliffs on both sides. It's really a spectacular cruise. And then you end up at what is, I guess they created a dam there, and that's where you go through, I think it's the largest lock on the Danube, right?
It is the largest lock, and also a hydropower plant. And just before it, we see on the left side, on the Romanian side, where the Carpathian Mountains are, because of the high cliffs, they carved the largest monolithic sculpture in all Europe.
That's right. It's amazing, yeah.
The Decebalus face. Yeah. The Romanians are very proud of their history, so they carved a huge face on the rock. And I guess that's one of the highlights of the cruise. The Iron Gates themselves as a national park, like the Breakthrough Gorge, and that face, that's something which sticks in everybody's memory.
And then the lock, which is actually a series of locks that you're going down. As you go south, the river is going down, so you're going down every time, and it was an amazing experience. The whole day I put it on par with, everybody talks about the Wachau Valley, which is amazing. Everybody talks about the Rhine castles. They are also amazing. This is on par with that, and it's only here on the lower Danube. So that was a great day. That was a fantastic day. And then we woke up here, and we are an hour ahead, because there is a bit of a time difference here in Bulgaria, and now we're in Vidin. And tell us a little bit about what's going on here, because we're sitting here and they're all off on doing their tours, right?
The guests are outside having fun. We are having fun on the ship. We have the AmaVerde all for us. So Vidin is a very small town, around 50,000 people. And in the morning, you can choose and do a banica pastry and yogurt tasting tour.
I'm pissed that we're doing this, because I looked at that and I said, that was what I would do. I mean, I would like, can we just go off and go to the pastry? Do you think we still have time?
Of course you can. Okay. And also I can call the owners and they can send us back some pastry. We might get a little hungry here. Or you can go to this brilliant fort that's down that way, which I may do after this. We'll see what happens. We can go together to the Baba Vida Fortress. Right. It means Granny Vida, because by the old sayings, they say there was an older woman which was defending this Bulgarian town from the Ottomans. So that's why they call it Baba Vida or Granny Vida Fortress. It's the best preserved medieval fortress in Bulgaria. And it's just a 15-minute walk away from the ship.
No, I'm going to see if I can get down there, because I'm doing a few interviews this morning. Now, the other thing is then this afternoon we're sailing. And I think we're going to just have fun on the water, and I think it sounds like a great day. And then tomorrow we get to where are we getting to then?
Tomorrow morning we wake up in Russe. That's also on the Bulgarian side of the Danube River, and we have some nice tours. Also, tomorrow morning we have a couple of full-day tours. So this afternoon we will relax and recharge on the ship, and tomorrow the choices are the capital of Romania, Bucharest.
Which is what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to have time to stay in Bucharest later. But there's some other great tours as well, right?
Yes, you can choose and go to the ancient capital of Bulgaria, called Veliko Trnovo, and it has the famous Tsarevets Hill from where you get the best views of the small town. It was an ancient capital, so nowadays very pretty. It has a nice shopping street which has a bit of an oriental feeling to it, so nice shopping can be done there, just for everyone to know. And also we visit a small village called Arbanasi, where we go into a nativity church and we do a special exclusive performance of a choir for us.
Oh, wow. So your cruise isn't over when you get to Bucharest, because then you can go on some post tours. And one of those tours is to Transylvania, and you're accompanied by your cruise manager. I think you're going on one of them. Talk a little bit about those post tours.
That's not something to be missed, so everybody should do it at least once. And a perfect choice is just to continue moving after the cruise in a leisured way with us. I accompany the tour, and also there is a local guide who is all the time with us. And the stops are the Bran Castle, which is famous for Bram Stoker's Dracula because of Vlad the Impaler, so that's a castle we visit. Also we go to Palace Castle, which is a bit more modern than Bran, but very lavishly decorated on the inside. So it's, for many people, one of the highlights of the post-Transylvania excursion. And we go to Sigishwara, which is a part of a UNESCO heritage site, because Vlad the Impaler was born there. And also it's a part of the medieval fortress, which is still nowadays inhabited by local Romanians. So we visit those places, and we finish up in the capital of Romania, Bucharest, where we can see the Ceausescu's parliament, the second largest administrative building in the world after Pentagon. So there are a lot of steps. It was never finished. It will never be finished. It would be too expensive, I think.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that on the previous day, but you're going to see that with the 3 days in, and it's a great way to not end your river cruise right after the 7 days that we're on it. So, and you're accompanying them, right?
Yes, making sure everything runs well, as always.
Now, besides running all these excursions, which you do so wonderfully, you also are in charge of all the entertainment on board, and you can get almost every night we have a different entertainer. Talk a little bit about some of the folks that we saw on this cruise.
We always start up the day with our onboard entertainment. Like, we have an onboard entertainer always on the ship who performs during tea time, during lunch, and after the evening, after the onboard entertainment, which comes on board the ship as guest entertainment. So we have always one performer who sails with us up and down all the time. But we also bring guest entertainers from local places like local stars. So in Budapest, we had the Voices of Budapest. They're actually opera singers with a violin and a piano player, a pianist, and they do perform for the state opera in Budapest.
Wow.
So they are really local stars, and the applauses they got were incredible. So you are docked at the city center of Budapest with all the lights around you, at the center of Europe, and you listen to the best music there. Then as we move down in Novi Sad, we have the No Boundaries duo, which took us on a roller coaster ride around the whole world with different languages and different styles of music. They're also professors of music in Serbia.
Wow.
So they have a very high education, but it's always a choice between a tour and the evening performance on that evening in Novi Sad. So No Boundaries was in Novi Sad, and then last night, actually 2 nights ago in Belgrade, we had Talija. They perform folklore, Serbian folklore, and they're the best folklore ensemble in the whole country. They have more than 400 performances per year, and they travel all around. I think they traveled every year they go to around 5 continents to perform every year. So they're incredibly popular with all the Serbian community and ex-Yugoslavian community around the world. And then today we'll have in Vidin Bulgarian youth. So basically children will be coming on board the AmaWaterways and dancing for us the local folklore dance and performing music before we say goodbye to Vidin.
Well, everybody asks me, what kind of entertainment do I get on board? So those people who are used to ocean cruises where they can go to shows and all this, you do have great entertainment, and it's very locally oriented. So I think that's great. And some nights I had to work because that's what I do. But when I popped out and got in to see it, was an amazing show. And almost every night you get to see. Otherwise, you just get to hear this guy all the time, which is great. You're kind of an onboard comedian after a while, right?
If you say so, I do my best.
You do a great job overseeing the whole thing and keeping everybody entertained. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you about is the wellness program on board, because you kind of oversee that. There is a wellness host, and talk a little bit about that, because this is something AmaWaterways put in a few years ago, and they've kept it going. And yes, you can do a little workout and keep fit, and we could be on deck right now doing some yoga, which we're not. And then there's a lot of different things, but talk about that whole wellness program.
When you say yoga, you mean champagne yoga? That's very popular with us.
The champagne part I get, the yoga part I've seen it.
I'll do the yoga, you can do the champagne part.
I like that.
We are a good mix. A few years ago, as you mentioned, we started with a wellness program in France. It became a huge success, so that's how we spread to all of our ships in Europe, where we have a dedicated wellness host. Why we are different from other cruise lines is our wellness host does only wellness. So it's not somebody who does maybe housekeeping or something else. He just is in charge, or she is just in charge of wellness on board. So they start the morning with some gentle stretching or light yoga, and then during the day maybe a digestive walk up on the sun deck, because we have a track up on the sun deck, or you can do like a jog, you can run around on the sun deck. We do active walks outside of the ship, stretching again in the afternoon, like post-excursion activities. We do office workouts, so you can continue this when you go home and you go to work. So basically, it can be as light as you want it to be, or as active as you want it to be. So it can be combinable with any degree of requests to the guests. And of course, the wellness host can also do private trainings and basically adjust everything towards one person. But usually the groups are small, but as I said, it's very adjustable.
Yeah, and also plus you can go on these active hikes or bike riding. So you don't have to be staying stationary here on AmaWaterways. Well, Bojan, it's been a marvelous cruise. I really want to thank you for teaching us all about the Lower Danube, which I did not know before. And would you say this is probably one of your favorite cruises, if only because you can see your family a bit?
It's definitely my favorite cruise, not just because I see my family, but because we are from this region. I am from here, so I feel that the stories that I share, they can be very private also. I'm emotional about this area, and the knowledge is very authentic. So all the time I talk to the Serbians, Romanians, Bulgarians, Hungarians, and to combine all these stories, I think it's easier for me to stay on a thin line and be objective to all the things which happened in the past, including the wars and political situations, but also bring a smile on somebody's face and try to get a positive view on all the situations before, because I think we all learned the lesson, and in the future all the countries will be good friends and neighbors.
And they are right now. It's been a marvelous cruise. All the people are friendly, and you're seeing brand new places in Europe if you haven't been down here before. Again, thank you very much, Bojan. We still have a couple more days to go. And if you want to learn more about AmaWaterways Lower Danube cruises, just go to their website, www.amawaterways.com, and take a look at these cruises that are going down. As Bojan mentioned, they're putting even more and more on there. And I even think, the big, Ama Verde comes down there, but Ama Magna comes down here as well, right?
Ama Magna, the double width, the largest ship on any river in Europe, and also we have the Ama Bella coming down this year.
So you got two more. Anyway, thanks very much, and I'm James Schillinglaw here in
Vidin.
Vidin. Okay, I got to get the right thing. I haven't even stepped off the ship yet, but I will probably in a little while. And again, come down here, send your clients down here. It's a great, I think, again, this part of one of the parts of the river you go through here is really essential for river cruising, the Iron Gates. So I'm James Schillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.